I found out about it roughly about 10 o'clock Istanbul time. So it was this afternoon, about 5 o'clock, when reports started coming in that tanks had taken the bridges, the two bridges in Istanbul that divide the city between Asia and Europe, clearly, and then that some F-16 fighters were flying quite low in Ankara. Shortly thereafter, there were reports that the airport was also shut down by the military. It wasn't too long after that I started getting reports from some members of our staff that they'd actually raided our offices in Istanbul and in Ankara. They basically shut TRT down. TRT is a global network. I work for the English language branch of that network. After 10 o'clock in Istanbul, after reports that the bridges had been closed, security personnel from the military entered the building in Istanbul and also at that time also entered the building in Ankara, the headquarters. And they essentially told all of the staff to leave those buildings and pulled the plug on all broadcasts coming out of TRT. In Istanbul in particular, they then confiscated all the phones of the people who work for my channel, TRT World, and essentially sent them away and took their phones. That's how it ended. Fortunately, it ended peacefully. Nobody got hurt, but it was still quite traumatic for the folks in the building, I'm afraid. There have been vocal critics against the government, and many of them coming from inside the military. There's from what I gather, from what I understand based on the reports I'm getting, the military overall isn't behind this coup attempt. It was a small faction within the military that actually staged this coup attempt. And the two places where you saw most of the military action took place in the capital, Ankara, and in Istanbul. I have received reports from folks inside Turkey that elsewhere it seems to be fairly quiet. There are people on the streets in Istanbul, but it's not overwhelming. There are some folks on the bridge, for example, on one of the bridges in Istanbul. It seems to be peaceful for now. Again, that could change. But we have received reports that people are on the streets, but it's not overwhelming numbers. And so we're keeping an eye to see where that's going to go, because I'm not entirely sure anybody knows where it's going to go next.